Jessi?
Hannah, what are you doing here?
Same reason as you, unless you're not taking the tour.
Alright, I'm sorry. I'm a little scatterbrained right now. Anyway, how are you? I haven't seen you since high school.
I'm doing good. I have a good job now and it felt like seeing some art today.
Excuse me, can we start the tour, please?
And here we have the beginning of the Xia dynasty, as represented in this watercolor painting.
Within this dynasty, we have the creation of the first dynasty. However, it's debated on whether or not it actually
Existed due to writing not being invented yet.
Okay, but please keep quiet while we're having the tour.
Okay, sorry.
Anyway, within this dynasty, they had the religious belief of communicating with ancestors through oracle bones.
What are oracle bones?
Oracle bones were often used in rituals, but the primary purpose was for priests to communicate with their ancestors and spirits about the future. Their art mainly consists of jade carvings and pottery made from clay. This contributes as a part of their inventions. However, they also created many other objects as well, such as bronze weapons and even a calendar that was based off the lunar movements.
This dynasty started the monarchy system, where rulers passed down by blood instead of ability, and fell with the tyrannical leader Zhe in 1600 BCE.
This is honestly my favorite dynasty.
Well, if you like it so much, why don't you present it?
Oh, thank you. Well, they were the first dynasty to have writing, and that's why it's the first confirmed dynasty. The type of writing used is known as pictograph, where symbols are used to represent a word or phrase. Apart from writing, they also developed advanced bronze weapons and even chariots, which were used in battlefields. And this started in the Bronze Age around 1700 BC. In around 600 years of power of this dynasty, scholars recorded advancements in religion and artwork, and this led to a very common artwork style of bronze head statues with a gold leaf.
As civilization developed, there was the development of polytheistic folk religions. The Shang dynasty worshipped multiple deities, including ancestors, but each group was ruled by one supreme deity.
Like the Xia dynasty, they also created pottery and jade carvings and communicated to their ancestors through the king, who was also termed as a priest, which soon led to the belief of the supreme god Shangdi,
which is called a theocracy, when the government is believed to be ruled by deities. The Shang dynasty lasted from 1600 BC to 1046 BCE, and it was overthrown
by the people of Zhou for being weak in the Battle of Mulay. Oh, sorry, I just really love this dynasty.
Moving on, in this art we have the representation of the Zhou dynasty.
This dynasty was divided into two periods, the West and the East. Their art continued to carry the Shang tradition of bronze sculptures and jade carving.
In the West, we have the focus on people creating the mandate of heaven so that only one person ruled at a time. Society focused on the Tian, or heaven, instead of the supreme god Shangdi.
Which is awesome because it also included the stated concept in the mandate of heaven, that a ruler is required to have moral authority. Backfired when King Yao gave in to the wishes of his favored concubine over his empire, leading to the revolt of West Zhou. Oh, sorry. I'm doing what they did. I'm sorry.
Hey!
Sorry!
How do you know so much about these subjects anyway?
Oh, we had a group project on this sophomore year. It's a complete coincidence that we are taking the same tour.
Okay, continuing on with the West Side, their large territory led to the Fei Hing policy, which instituted a feudal system and created a society hierarchy, with the king above all then nobles, gentries, merchants, laborers, and at last peasants. The Fei Hing policy granted land to loyal nobles, and each noble was allowed to create their own state with their current currency, legal system, tax code, and militia.
The first part of the Eastern Zhou period was called the Spring and Autumn period. During this time period, the king began to lose power and people were constantly at war. However, philosopher Confucius, or Master Kong, insisted on restitution of social and political order, and made the concept of the five classics more popular. Confucianism soon developed after this and focused on the virtuous behaviors of humans.
Which is awesome because it shows how they combined life with religion.
Yes, anyway, Confucianism was viewed as a philosophy or even a religion, which was involved in core structures of government and family piety being their core value. This social structure was basically older over younger and men over women in the sense of hierarchy. The second part of the Eastern Zoo was known as the Warring States period, when states competed for power. King Zhao of Qin gained his power after defeating King Nan of Zhou, bringing up the Qin dynasty.
And the Qing dynasty was the first imperial dynasty of a united China, but quickly collapsed and only lasted for around 15 years.
However, it was one of the most impactful dynasties. Thanks to Emperor Shi Hongdi, the practice of ritual human sacrifices to bring soldiers into the afterlife completely stopped after he ordered the construction of the terracotta soldiers to guard him.
Oh, and they banned all other philosophies, including Confucianism, except for legalism, which was the belief that humans tend to misbehave and participate in doing wrong.
During the chaos of the warring period, Emperor Shi Hongdi primarily focused on conquering states to increase his power and appealing to lower classes. He did this through the construction of roads and canals, which improved transportation of trade and influenced an early version of the Great Wall.
Ma'am, please stop touching the paintings.
Stop assaulting me. I know my rights.
This person was removed from the tour.
Anyways, they worked quickly to achieve a stable society, and they accomplished this by prohibiting freedom of speech, persecuting scholars, and burning texts.
The attempt to unify China took a downturn when the first emperor died in 210 BC. Hint, mandate of heaven, and the whole country went into a civil war.
How did Qin Shi Huang die?
Oh, his grief for immortality led to his own death. Hint, mandate of heaven. A personnel of the empire gave him a perceived elixir of immortality, when in reality it was mercury. Fun.
And peasant uprisings over the despotic emperor, floods and earthquakes ran the lands. A few years later, when his son died, the whole dynasty collapsed. It wasn't until 202 BC that the Liu Bang, renamed Emperor Gozou of Han, established the Han dynasty. After the Qing dynasty, the Han dynasty rose and lasted from 202 BC to 220 AD. This dynasty is created with the modern inventions such as gunpowder, rag paper, magnetic compass, and the silk road, which increased agricultural trade along with civil services. Fun fact, gunpowder was made by accident while experimenting with the formula of a possible immortality potion. The Han dynasty welcomed the precepts of legislacism, Daoism, and Confucianism. Confucianism benefited the Han dynasty, improving government based on its moral and ethics, while Daoism improved self-awareness and peace of the social interactions.
In 207 BC, Emperor Gozou, the first Han emperor, organized the first civil service system, which included training programs nearly impossible to pass tests and years upon years of training. Since mainly only the wealthy families could afford these programs, they were considered highly respected positions.
The emperor knew he couldn't run everything by himself, so he decided that highly educated government officials would keep the empire strong and organized. Each rank was symbolized by a badge of a bird on their robes. High-ranked officials worked in the palace and controlled large areas of the empire. Lower-ranked officials worked in local districts and usually collected taxes, enforced laws, and acted as judges.
Finally, in 200 AD, the Han dynasty influenced the creation of the modern Chinese script, regular script, still the third most published script in the modern times.
Well, that's the end of our tour. Now get out!
That was a really good tour, don't you think?
Yeah, although I do feel kind of bad about interrupting the tour so much.
Don't worry about that. At least we didn't touch the painting.
Well, do you want to go get coffee and catch up on life?
That sounds lovely. It's been a while.